Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Backed by popular demand, Jessica Javen's Talk Podcast is my celebrity co-host. What's up, Jessica?
Andre, I'm so happy to be here. We're recording the last few episodes of season 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so excited to talk to the guests that I have. We're going to have those very intimate, empowering conversations, and I can't wait.
How was your trip?
It was great. The flight was smooth. I had some healthy food, so I'm all ready to go.
Got your coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you where we're about to go today with today's show. Can you imagine? You heard of DNA.
Yeah.
You heard of Ancestry.com.
Yes, I've done it. I spit on a bottle.
Okay. My daughter did it for me, and I'm keeping my stuff hush hush because you never know who might come out of the woodwork.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? But today, this young lady has basically went viral, and this is her first podcast. She's unleashing everything, but she found some interesting things during her DNA search that we're going to learn about today on this show. So, without further ado, let's welcome all the way from Jersey, Miss. I'm gonna see if we can pronounce this last name right. Worth it. Worath. Did we get it right?
Worath. I know. Worath.
Beautiful name.
Beautiful name.
Worath. There you go.
Is it German?
You win.
Is it German?
That's awesome. Hello.
German? Is Worath German?
It is German. Yeah, it's actually Borat in German. Yes.
That sounds even more pretty.
Yes, it is a German last name.
So, Gayle,
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for taking time to come on the show and get ready to share with us some beautiful information and some sad information that you found out through DNA. Before we get started with that journey, tell a little bit about who you are first.
Okay, so I am a 53-year-old married mother of 2 teenage girls. I have a 17 and an 18-year-old, 2 daughters. And yeah, I mean, if you would have told me this time last year that I would be sitting here on your podcast with my story, I never would have believed you, ever. Yeah, it has been a journey, and it is a fairly new journey for me. So thank you for inviting me to your show to share my story.
When you talk about the journey, let's talk about not so much how you grew up, but let's get right down to it. Let's talk about the whole DNA thing and how it really changed your life, because we hear people every day to get this done. You had it done where you went and did an ancestry thing to check your bloodline and stuff. Has anything ever happened crazy with you with that?
Yes. Well, 2 things. I've done DNA tests 2 times. One was because I wanted to find out my background. I thought I knew everything because I know my family like 4 generations. My parents told me all of it. I thought I knew. Then I found out that out of doing that, my mom did not have that straight. She said, I'm 100% Italian. When we did the Ancestry.com, we found out that she's half French. So I'm French too. I'm like, oh, who knew?
Oui.
Yeah, oui. So 1. Number 2, I have cancer on both sides of my family. So I did a DNA test to see if I'm carrying that. And my test came negative.
Okay.
However, still because of that, I'm still at risk, so I have to every 6 months be doing tests for prevention.
Man, that's crazy.
Of course.
Tell us what happened with yours. You went and did this same type of ancestry, and then what happened with you?
All right. So I have to take you back to Christmas of 2021. As a stocking stuffer, my husband got me an Ancestry DNA kit. I wanted it. And the only thing, Jessica, like you, I wanted to see where my ancestors came from. If it was that was all I was looking for. And the results come back. He tests, I test, the results come back. And it says I'm 100% Ashkenazi Jewish, which I knew. Both my parents were Jewish. But the odd thing was, now we're going back to 2021, a woman showed up as a cousin. Initially, she showed up as a cousin. I do not have cousins. Both my parents are only children. There is no aunts, no uncles, no first cousins. And it's that thumbnail picture and her face was turned. But I have very distinctive hair. She has the same hair and a similar profile. And I reach out to her on Ancestry and I don't hear back. She didn't check her Ancestry. I found a larger picture of her on LinkedIn. I show my mother. My mother's like, I don't know who this is. And I forget about it. I forget about it. I whatever. It doesn't matter. We laughed about it. We're like, oh, one of my grandparents somewhere must have had an affair. We're laughing. It was like a family joke. Fine. We move on. January of this year, I'm in my house. It's regular Saturday, and I check my Facebook messages. This same woman messages me on Facebook, and she says she checked her Ancestry. Now, you have to understand, Ancestry is an algorithm that populates. The more data it gets a clearer picture, okay? Now, I didn't check my Ancestry in 3 years. She said, I checked my Ancestry. You and somebody else, a man, have shown up as half siblings on my page. She said, my father was a doctor, but in the late 60s, early 70s, he was a sperm donor. She says, you look just like my aunt, and I think we are related. And I'm like, so my husband and I talk. I respond to her, can we talk? She calls me, she's on speakerphone, and she's saying the same things over and over. And she's on speaker, my husband's sitting with me, and like, did you ever hear something that's so shocking that your brain can't process it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I can't. She's like, he's a sperm donor. I was born in 1972. So it was around, and my husband looks at me and he says, Martin was my father. He goes, you're not Marty's daughter. And I couldn't process what he was saying. And so I was raised with 2 sisters. Me and the oldest sister are biological sisters, or so we were told. And the middle sister was adopted. That was always very open that she was adopted. So my sister that I was raised with looks nothing like me. I'm 5'10". Now I'm gray, but I was blonde. Always big curly hair. She's 5 feet tall, pin straight, dark brown hair. There is no resemblance. We never resembled each other. I call her and I'm like, something is going on. Someone is showing up on my Ancestry as a sibling. So I send a mobile DNA unit to my sister's house and another one comes to me. And they test us both and we're waiting for the results. And in that meantime, I'm calling my mother. I'm like, Mom, what is going on? Who is this person? She's denying everything. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting for the results, I have a relationship with this woman who's reached out to me and she's sending me pictures of this man. I look just like this man. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So the results come back about a week later, and it turns out that my sister and I are half siblings, that we share a mother, we do not share a father. So what had happened was my mother used sperm donors to have both me and my sister and passed me off as my father's child.
Gayle, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me ask you a question. That's some powerful information. It's a 2-part question here. She sent you pictures. Did you show the pictures to your mom? And what was your mom's reaction when you showed her the pictures? That's my first question. And my second question, hold that thought for a minute. My second question is, we mentioned sperm donor. I don't want people to take this out of content. What was the reason that let's just say your mom confessed to this, because it's starting to unravel.
Sure.
What was the need for a sperm donor? Could she not, how deep did you go in the rabbit hole with your mom, basically?
Okay, so initially she denies everything. Eventually she reached out and I went to her house. It was an incredibly difficult conversation. But she admitted, because if you really looked at my family dynamic, it didn't make sense. You had 2 kids, biological, no resemblance, and an adopted daughter in the middle. So it turns out that she admitted that my father had the mumps as a child, which left him. Now, again, I have to temper what's actually true, and I do believe that. She said he had the mumps as a child, left him with a low sperm count, not no sperm count, but apparently whatever sperm he had were not viable because she miscarried several times. So she used sperm donors to have both me and my oldest sister. And the interesting thing is, now my middle sister is adopted. That was incredibly open. We all knew, we knew her biological family. We met them when she was older. It was when I went to my mother with this, she was angry. She was angry that I found out. She was angry that this woman had reached out to me. She was angry that I went on Ancestry. It was not the same conversation.
That was supposed to really be the skeleton in the closet. And it's amazing. It's amazing. You're not the only individual that this has probably happened to.
So,
question you was going to ask?
No, I've seen a whole series of shows of people who found out things like that, and it's absolutely incredible. How did that make you feel when she reacted that way?
Listen, and I put it this way. I love my mother. We only get one mother, but I do not have an easy mother. And I talk about this. I go live on TikTok and talk about it, that if you have an easy mother, you're never going to understand it. If you have a difficult mother, you get what I'm saying. That's who she is. When I found this out, I was shocked, not surprised. But there's so much, you cannot swap out people. Like, we come with things. It was very difficult. And again, I'm middle-aged. I'm 53. I have children. I have made medical decisions for myself, for my children, based on a lie. Yes, I showed her, Andre, to answer your question, when I confronted her, I showed her a picture of him. There is no doubt this man is my father. And the interesting thing, though, this man and my father who raised me looked similar. So I kind of thought I looked like my father until I saw a picture of this man, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I literally looked at the face of a stranger and saw my own face.
Is this guy still alive?
No, he passed away 6 months before I found out.
Oh my.
Let's go back one more. You mentioned this word, multiple, meaning more than one. Sperm donors, correct? So
she used a different sperm. So my sister's 8.5 years older than me. So my sister was also donor conceived. Yes.
Has the same situation surfaced with her as well?
We're very different. We have always been very, very different. My sister just buries it and move on. And she's different. But again, and I mean, I've touched on this, Andre, with you, that I have an extremely rare genetic abnormality.
Don't say that one yet. I know. Don't. We're gonna get.
I know, but that's why.
Yeah.
For me, it was a very different experience than it was for my sister.
Do you think that the reason that it is different? Let me go here. Let me go here. And first of all, let me say thank you for coming on the show and talking about it, because I know this is emotional, because you for so many years had the conception that this was your father, that you was born this way and so forth. Then to find out something totally different, it's a whole different ball game. But let's go back for a minute.
Absolutely.
Do you think that she saw what you went through, your sister, that she's like, you know what, I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole?
It's a lot to unpack. I don't know. I don't know what went through my sister's head. Again, we have always been very, very different people. How we've always kind of handled my mother and how we deal with her is very different. But yeah, to find out in midlife has been shocking. And I was telling Andre before too, when I initially found out. So going back to that initial call in January, my husband and I, after I got off the phone with this woman, my husband and I are sitting at my kitchen island, and I'm like, I can't believe this. This is the craziest thing I ever heard. And I said, but I've been getting the emails. And my husband looks at me and he goes, what emails? I said, the emails, the cousin emails. For 3.5 years, 2 to 3 times a week, I've been getting the cousin updates. And he looks at me like I have 3 heads. And we're arguing. So to honestly end the argument, he pulls up his ancestry page. And he has 3 connections. It's him, his father, and his sister. That's it. We pull up my ancestry page. Now, mind you, this man was a sperm donor. I have no idea how many times he donated. I have no idea how many siblings are out there. But I had on my page over 2,000 connections.
That's a sperm donor for real.
Now, they're not all siblings. It needs a complete picture. I have no idea how many siblings I have. They are connections. So they are somehow related to my siblings. Over 222,000 connections. And I keep getting them. Around Christmas time, I get more because people are getting these as stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny here? It's funny. This happened to somebody else. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a doctor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that literally had hundreds of kids. He was an OBGYN. He was like literally putting his semen in all these women and got tons of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, the man who is my biological father was also an OBGYN. I don't know how many siblings I have. There could be 100 of us. I have no idea. Now, I know of Francesca is the one who reached out to me, and I've met her twice. First, a layover in Newark Airport just for an hour. I met her for a cup of coffee back in January. My husband came with me. My husband could not stop staring at her because we look so much alike. And my sister that I was raised with looked nothing like me. I mean, same hair, same height, same shaped body, it's weird. Same hands and feet. Like she looks like a younger me.
Wow.
And then she came to my house in January. She had another layover. She travels around a lot. And my daughters got to see her, and the look on my daughter's face, they're like, oh my God, like, Mom. They're like, and I talk about, I'm like, she's like a younger, cooler me. And I say to my daughters, like, listen, I was cool once too. I'm like, I'm 53. She's only 32. I'm like, 53 and 32 are different numbers.
So Gayle, let's just go back for a minute. Let's go back to the impact that this had to have on 2 people. That's just as important as this story is your mother and the guy that's supposed to been who you would consider your father. Now that the cat's out of the bag, how were they handling this?
Well, my father who raised me, and I know I have to specify between the two, the father who raised me passed away in 2019. And Andre, to be perfectly honest, the conversation with my mother just led to more questions. She claimed he knew. I don't know if that's true or not. I will never know if that's true.
So he went to the grave and you'll never know.
I don't know if he knew or not. I will never, ever know that. My mother, listen, I always use the term, sometimes happy families exist in Hallmark cards. I said, I don't know any other way to put it. I love my mother, but she's difficult, and it was difficult before this. So this did not make things easier.
Did she not think it was going to come out?
I just don't know.
Yeah,
no, she thought she'd take this to the grave.
Everybody before DNA was discovered thought that things could be hidden. I watched these cold case files.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
That's just crazy.
DNA
Yes,
changed the whole
she
world.
never thought I'd find out. But she was actually angry that I found out. Like, she was very, it was in it. And that's the interesting thing to me is I was raised with me and the oldest one's our sister, are donor conceived, huge secret. The adopted sister, it was very open. We talked about it. When my adopted sister turned 30, she said, I need to, she had my niece. I need to know medical history. My mother gave her information. She found her biological family. They flew from Indiana to New Jersey. They stayed with us. It was wonderful. It was very open. I had a very different experience. I did not have that.
How does your religion? You got a question, Jessica? I'm sorry.
No, I just think it's interesting that if it went so smoothly with her mom and for her sister, which is amazing. That's how it should be. And then for her legitimate daughters or biological daughters, I'm sorry, it was a completely different experience. It's just amazing how there's such a big contrast.
Let me ask this question, and I have to bring it up. How much does the secrecy have to do with your religion because you're Jewish?
I don't know. It's interesting. I have been on TikTok with this since June. It's only been since June that I've kind of come out with this, so it's all fairly new to me that this is public. Older people, I think it's more generational, I think, than religion, although I could be wrong, that there was a stigma attached to men who were infertile. So I don't know if it was a generational thing, but yeah, and I have to be honest, and I say I'm technically beyond midlife unless I live to 106. I think I'm 53 to look back at my entire life through a different lens. My children. So my youngest daughter, the only telltale, and I look back that I ever had that something was off with my father was when my younger daughter was born. I thought she looked just like my father. She had very dark hair like him. My older daughter looked more like my side, very blonde. My younger daughter was very dark and looked like my father. And the NICU had taken her, and I was sitting in the NICU with my father. And I said to him, Daddy, she looks just like you. And I found it odd. He just looked at me. He didn't smile. He didn't make a joke. He just looked at me. Now, did he do that because he knew? My parents had that relationship where my mother, it was all about keeping my mother happy. Did my mother swear him to secrecy and he was just trying to keep her happy? I don't know. Or did he not know? Or am I looking back at it that way because now I know? Again, sometimes when I let the questions swirl in my head, it just leads to more questions and I have to kind of put it away.
So I'm trying to get some clarity on the question, because when you're dealing with different religion, they have different things that could embarrass them or get them put out of the whatever they believe in. I'm just trying to, in my own mind, do like you do, trying to think of why did they keep this such a secret? Because, who were they really afraid of knowing is what I'm trying to get to.
I don't know. And one of the interesting things too is that when I did meet with my mother told me that, it was my father who raised me, his mother, my Nana, who saw that my mother was not getting pregnant. She was a very smart woman, knew there was a problem. She said, Nana took me out to lunch and gave me the name of a doctor because she, quote, wanted to be a grandma. And so my grandmother knew. Did my father know? I don't know. But she knew, and my mother was very big on the half-truths. I always knew she was very open about the fact that she was getting progesterone injections when she was pregnant. And she said she was getting progesterone injections because she had had miscarriages. She was getting progesterone injections because she was being inseminated. She left that half of it out.
Uh-huh.
Mm, mm, mm.
You correct me if I'm wrong, Gayle,
Sure.
but when you just study the history of the Jewish, you go back to even the Hebrew scriptures, there is a clear message of how important it is, the generation and carrying the name and the father and the lineage. Lineage is spoken of in the entire Hebrew scriptures. And there's a track record of it. It's over and over again. It was one of the most valuable things, so much so that if you go back to a person who did not have a child, like Sarah and Abraham, it was the most horrible thing ever. And she was anxious to have it. And she had a child. I think she had Isaac when she was in her 90s or something like that. Finally had it. She even sent Abraham to have relationship with her slave. So because she was so concerned about having a child to bury Abraham's lineage. So that is something very important. That's
thank you for
Sure.
You hit it on the nose. Like maybe she was under pressure, like Jessica just said, because of your religion. You know, especially if you got generation of Jewish
very
bloodline,
important. It's very important.
important, and it probably was a secret that they didn't want nobody in the Jewish community to know about.
Well, it was interesting because, the Jewish lineage, I would have been Jewish either way because my mother is Jewish. So you are Jewish based on your mother. And, you know, the way she put it when I met with her, she's like, I just wanted a family. And now
it is a tradition. It's not doesn't have to be religious,
yeah.
but it can be a tradition too. But it's very ingrained in the Jewish community. Very.
Yes. And what's interesting is I say this, both my fathers were Jewish. I'm like, all three of my parents were Jewish. I think that makes me extra Jewish. I said, and you know, it's funny. I'm very friendly with my rabbi's wife. We are very good friends. We go on walks together. She's kind of been like my therapist through all this, and she is Orthodox. So she comes from a massive, massive Orthodox family, and I said, "Chaya, baby, I got more cousins than you do."
and if you see, I have right next door from where I live, I have a huge Orthodox community, and I see how many children that they have with them, like especially on Saturdays, right? Because you can see them walking to the temple, and they have so many kids. They're typically big families.
Well, we were Reform Jews. I was not raised a religious Jew. So, I mean, it wasn't really about having, you know, and I know because my rabbi and his wife are Orthodox. They have 7 children. They're one's from 10, one's from 11. I know they're family gatherings or something. But it was just about, you know, she's like, I wanted a family. I understand. And, you know, here is my thing. I understand her not telling me as a child because I would not have understood. I get that. Even as a single person. But once I had children of my own, that is where I needed to know.
Now let's hold that thought for a minute. Now let's move forward. Children of your own, DNA, ancestry. Now we're dealing with some medical issues because you were born with a medical issue yourself. Let's go down that road for a minute. Talk about the medical issue. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we like to educate and empower people.
Absolutely.
And it's important to know something about where you came from.
Absolutely.
Who your mom and dad is. Like you just said, you know, you had a history of when you did your DNA cancer.
Yeah.
You went and this is to help you become proactive. And
it's empowering too, because a lot of people don't want to know. And this is what I like to touch on the little boo-boo there. Why not? So I can't wait to hear her story.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you were born with and how that triggered down.
Okay. So I will keep this as short and sweet as I can and as easy. Right after birth, I went into respiratory distress. This is 1972. I was in the little isolate in the little bed. Nurse looks over. I'm blue. I'm retracting. They had to intubate. They had to put me on a ventilator. 1972 intubation tubing is metal. Okay. I'm unable. They tried to get, I could not breathe on my own and required a tracheostomy tube. If you look, you can see there is a scar in my neck. I had it's okay, sweetie, I'm good. I had a metal tracheostomy tube because that is what they used in the 70s. Okay. It took 4.5 years to what's called decannulate to get that tracheostomy tube out. I had issues with my trachea related to having a metal trach so long. They had to correct those issues first. When I was 4.5, they were able to get the trach out, but they told my parents that I had vocal cord paralysis. So when you speak, they come together, vibrate off each other, and sound comes out. When you take a breath, you go, they open. When I take a breath, they go, I have this teeny, tiny little airway. But it's fine. Like, it doesn't stop me from doing anything. It is what it is. And I was told it was due to that initial intubation. The doctors thought when they intubated, sometimes they'd hit the nerve in the vocal cords, especially in a baby, and cause vocal cord paralysis. Fine. Doesn't stop me. I do everything. Sometimes when I'm talking, if you really listen, you'll hear me pulling a little harder. That's like the only telltale. Fine. Move on with life, meet my husband, get married. I give birth to my oldest daughter, okay? As soon as I deliver her, she is gasping. She cannot breathe on her own. And they run her. Literally, the resident holding her, had sneakers on, kicks the door open and runs out with her. My husband goes with her. He comes back an hour later and looks at me and says, the baby's vocal cords won't open. The vocal cord paralysis was not the problem, was not an injury. They thought the vocal cord paralysis was a result of something else. The vocal cord paralysis was the problem. I have an extremely rare genetic abnormality that causes vocal cord paralysis. So my daughter, my airway is tiny. Hers was worse. They were touching. So every time she went to take a breath, they would pull in. She was being suffocated by her own vocal cords. What I have is so rare, they had never seen it at the hospital where she was born. They had to put in a tracheostomy tube. My daughter, I never thought she'd have it as long as I did. I was wrong. She had it longer. It took 5 hospitals, 3 failed surgeries. I live in New Jersey. It took 25 trips to Cincinnati Children's Hospital to create a stable airway for her. She's fine. She's in college. It's over. We've moved on. Like, I never live in a negative space because somebody offered me a solution. That solution was in Cincinnati. So I boarded that plane with pleasure because someone was offering to help my daughter.
How many people didn't mean to cut you out. How many hospitals did you reach out to?
We started, she was born at our local hospital in New Jersey. And thank God that hospital had a high level NICU, because had she been born at home, had she been born at a smaller hospital, I don't know if it would have ended up as good for her.
And they couldn't tell anything before she was born. Like, during your entire pregnancy, everything was fine, of course.
Everything was fine.
Yeah.
No, I had no way to know. And frankly, if I had seen, you can see it on a genetic map, but if I had seen that genetic map before I'd seen my daughter, I wouldn't understand that was the cause of I had to see her.
Gayle, they didn't offer you a amniocentesis?
I had an amniocentesis with my second daughter because we knew, but there was no reason at that point to look for any genetic.
Right.
Because no one else in my family had it. My parents didn't have it, or at least didn't appear to have anything wrong. It was just me. So I there was no reason to have an amnio, to look for anything.
Now that you look back on it,
Now
knowing that you was a product of a guy who donated, and he's no longer here, your father's no longer here, it's probably hard to tell if you may have contracted that particular marker from the sperm donor.
Well, what's interesting is, so I have a relationship with Francesca, the woman who reached out to me.
Right.
So I've seen her. My biological father was married 3 times. He had 2 other children. They do not have it. There was another man who has shown up as a half sibling on Ancestry. He does not have it. Now, my second daughter.
How do they know they don't have it? Are they getting tested for it?
Well, here's the thing. I can't, it's true. They're not presenting with it. Me and Ellie, my oldest daughter, presented with it. We could not breathe on our own. Now, my younger daughter, Madison, I had another daughter who is genetically a match to me and my older daughter, did not require a tracheostomy tube because her larynx was a millimeter wider. So she had a natural gap between her cords. She does not have normal vocal cord function, but she did not need a trach. Now, I don't know where this comes from.
I have a question.
Sure.
Your half sister.
Yes.
Did she have anything, or maybe her children?
So that's an interesting question. The sister I was raised with, you mean?
Yeah, because you could share the same mother.
So, okay. Now, we have to go back. Now, my daughter is born end of 2006. Now, trust me, I am shocked. It's like I thought I had an injury. So it's like you saying I broke my arm as a child and I'm afraid I'm going to give birth to a child with a broken arm. It is that crazy. And I'm literally in shock. And my mother is in the room with me after, the NICU takes her. I mean, you have to understand, my husband was in the NICU with my daughter. Okay. There's 15 doctors standing around her yelling, "Why won't the baby's vocal cords open?" And my husband is yelling back at them, "My wife's cords don't open." But what we have is so rare. Literally, of the 5 hospitals, and we went to some big ones, only one doctor, the guy in Cincinnati, has ever seen genetic vocal cord paralysis. Vocal cord paralysis is not rare. The brain stem controls vocal cord function. An injury to the brain stem, cancer of the brain stem, an injury or trauma to the vocal cords can cause vocal cord paralysis. For it to be caused by a rare genetic mutation is incredibly, incredibly rare. Now, the doctors had never seen it. It was brutal. When my daughter was born, for me, it was one of the hardest times in my life. She's in the NICU. It was hours before they let me see her. They finally wheel me in. She's sedated. She's on a ventilator. Now you have to understand her cords are touching, so they wedged a tube in between there, and that tube is keeping her alive. And I reached over and I touched her leg, and a nurse came literally running over and said, "Mrs. Worath, we'd appreciate it if you did not do that." I was not permitted to touch her. I'm not coming down on the hospital. They were correct. But they were afraid that if I moved her, that tube would come out. And they didn't even understand what she had. Now they extubated twice, meaning they removed that ventilator tube twice to see if she could breathe on her own. And after that second extubation, so what would happen is that tube was wedged. So as they're pulling the tube out, there's a small gap where it was sitting there. But after 2-3 hours, it would close again. So after the second time, I literally stood in a NICU full of doctors and yelled at them. I'm like, "What are you waiting for? She needs a trach." And they said, Mrs. Worath, we've never had a parent ask for a trach. I said, well, you've never had a parent who's had a trach. I said, what are you waiting for? They're like, we're waiting for her vocal cords to move. I said, well, I've been waiting 34 years and they still don't move. I said, I don't know what happened or why it happened. I said, but I have to get her home. She's not coming home like this. Put a trach in and I will get her home. And they put the trach in, she was fine. And that is the thing with this genetic abnormality. There is no other abnormality other than lack of vocal cord function. So people with vocal cord paralysis, like, they told my parents they didn't know if I had brain damage. They didn't know what was causing it's a gene. So when my daughter was 3 months old, well, I get her home. Okay. I have nursing care for her. My home looked like a hospital. I had air compressors. I had pulse ox machines. I had nursing care for her. But the interesting thing was, for me, I remembered it all. Like, I wasn't afraid of the trach because I remembered it. I was more like thrown by the baby stuff. Like, how often do I feed her? And the nurses thought it was so interesting because I'm like, I had all this stuff. I mean, my stuff was made of different stuff, but it was the same stuff. So when my daughter was 3 months old, we went for genetic testing. Okay. They did 3 tests. The first 2, I don't know much about genetics, but the first 2 came back normal. The 3rd test was a genetic map. I don't know if you guys know anything about genetics. I did not.
I don't.
Okay. It doesn't matter. I'll give you, I'm a teacher, so I'll give you the quick tutorial. You have 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? And if you look at a genetic map, like, one might be straight and one might be bent, but they're both the same size, right? On pair 14, one is regular and one is a little tiny piece. On pair 5, one is regular and the other is super long. The piece of 14 was called translocated and stuck to 5. Now, the ENTs don't understand the genetic side and the geneticists don't understand the ENT side. But the geneticists hypothesize where that gene is broken for some reason causes the message to not get from the brainstem to open the vocal cords. It is a extremely rare genetic condition that I didn't even know I had. Now, after I was genetically tested, me and my daughter both presented with this same abnormality, so we realized that that's where it came from. My first phone call was to my mother. And I'm like, Mom, I need you and Daddy to go and get tested. Now, I've told you, my mother's difficult. I love her. I'm not saying I don't, but she's difficult on a good day. And her immediate response is, we don't have it. I'm like, this is not me asking. This is me telling you I need you to go. The question I have now is, I don't know if she ever went. So when I got my results, my genetic counselor called me, had me come down. It was at Hackensack Hospital in New Jersey. She sat me down. She explained everything to me. She explained my genetic results, what they thought it meant, and that was the abnormality. Now, my mother said she went, but then she said she is the one who called me 2 weeks later, and she said, we don't have it. Now, at the time, I did not think to ask for documentation. I did not think to ask for paperwork. I'm like, okay, she's my mother. She's telling me she doesn't have it. Did she go? I don't know.
So, Jessica, you had a question about her sister and the genetic marker, her carrying that marker to this day. What was your question for her?
Yeah, because I was wondering if your sister shares the same biological mother as you, if she did a DNA test, even if didn't show any symptoms, wouldn't it show that she actually is carrying it, and that would give you the answer came from your mom's side?
Yes. And yes. And if my mother could also have it, and my sister could have it. My sister, we never tested her, because my mother told me that both of my parents did not have it. So I never pursued my sister testing because why would I? If neither one of them have it, they did say there was a chance it was, quote, a spontaneous mutation that only occurred in me. Is that true? I don't know. There are so many questions. I kind of have to make peace with that there's so many questions about my genetics that I will just never know. And that's okay. I know what I need to know and I move on.
You know what? Thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. But before we wrap up, there's at least one more question I want to ask. What's life like for you now? I know you've been dealt a whole bunch of cards and you got to know when to fold them, know when to hold them.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely have done that. But how do you move on now? How do you, like you said, how do you make lemonade? Your mother, to give credit to your mom, she wanted a family. She's got a family. Unfortunately, the path that she took may not have been conventional back in those days. But at the end of the day, you're here.
Yes.
You have a family. You have 2 beautiful daughters. You have tons of new family members.
So many.
Tons of new family members. And after they see this show, more pop up. But life is really seems to be pretty good outside of that. So what's life like for you now?
Listen, I honestly, I'm very open about when I go live on TikTok. I do not have a great relationship with my side. Didn't before all this. And I'm not going to lie, we don't have a great relationship with my husband's side either for different reasons, and that's okay. But I never counted on a third parent. So I actually do have a relationship with these people. The Jewish holidays are coming. My sister is coming to stay with us for a few days. I actually have a new cousin on that side that I have a very good relationship with. And the interesting thing about this, quote, new side to my family, they all knew he was a sperm donor. They all knew that we were out there.
All but you.
Yes, he actually wanted to meet us. There was an option to remain anonymous. He did not want that. He wanted to meet us. And the funny thing is, my biological father has a sister who is still alive. She's almost 90. And I look just like this woman. I look like this woman. She's like old me and Francesca's like young me. And one of her daughters is in her 60s. I have a very good relationship with her. She is coming for Rosh Hashanah with her husband. Now I said to her, does your family know about me? She's like, oh, everybody knows. She goes, we've been waiting to meet you. She goes, we knew that his children were out there. We didn't know where you were. And I said, but I've embraced this side.
You know what started out as a podcast with mystery turned out to be like a box of Cracker Jacks. All of it's good, and at the end of the day, when you open the prize, it's still good.
It's fabulous.
Jessica,
there's no bad things. There's just things, and that's it.
I love that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jessica. Before we wrap up this show, let's talk about you in a little bit. Getting ready to finish up Jessica James Talk. How's that venture been for you?
Oh my gosh, it has been so much fun. And I've been meeting one of the most amazing people that I would never expect in my life, such as our guest here today, which is fabulous. I am so privileged to get to know these people and get to see how incredible they are and how they dealt with the most insane things in their lives and how they turned that around. And
insane.
It is a lot. It is incredible. That's why I'm so happy that our guest today, she's on social media telling everybody this story.
Yeah.
And I need to congratulate her for that.
So with that said, Gayle, thank you so much. Oh, how can the viewers reach out to you to follow you on your journey? Because it's such a beautiful journey. And somebody listening says, I know her. She's my sister.
Well, I am on TikTok. I'm Silver Spirals 714. So yes, and I go live a lot on TikTok. So I go live, I answer questions in real time. I'm usually live for about 2 hours.
Wow,
So,
that's
yeah, it's fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you once again, like I said, for taking time out to come on the show and bless me with your first podcast. Love to have you come back and keep us updated with new siblings, new cousins, hopefully not another new dad. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode. Say it with me, of the Andre The Beast
Crayton Show.